John!
What?
Red 7!
I don't know what Red 7 means.
Hot route!
I don't. What is hot route?
Will you just go stand on the other side, please?
Down!
Come on.
Ready, down, set, hut, 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 hut!
Hit me! Booyah! That's what we call a sacked lunch. Nom, 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 nom.
It's time for the Soonerscoop.com postgame show presented by Eskridge Lexus in Oklahoma City. Eskridge Lexus is the official travel partner of Soonerscoop.com podcasts. Now, here's your road crew, Carey, Eddie, and Bob, wrapping up all the action and reaction from this week's game.
All right, welcome. It is going to be quite a post-game podcast because we've got a lot to get to, and I got to tell you what, Eddie, I would prefer that I be able to just watch the freaking game all over again before we do this pod because, to be honest with you, I'm still a little in shock at what I saw this afternoon. I had to write on the Scoop account like twice just to make sure it was real. I know I'm having some episodes where I'm breaking with reality lately after my Am I in Hell admission on the Unofficial 40 this week. But I guess I'm not in hell because that would not happen in hell. Like seeing one of the greatest games that you've ever seen played in front of you, it was just an amazing game. I mean, we haven't mentioned the thing that we're bearing the lead. Caleb Williams, your new quarterback at Oklahoma. It's got to be, right?
I mean, what did we witness today? What did we witness? I've seen a lot of things down here before, Carey, and obviously I wasn't down here last year for the 4 overtime game, but I mean, I've never seen the stadium like that. I've never seen the swings of momentum, emotion, everything that goes into that. And oh, by the way, I'm pretty sure that Lincoln Riley benched the guy that was third in the Heisman Trophy voting going into this week, or the odds, or fourth in the odds. And I mean, Carey, I don't think he ever takes another meaningful snap at Oklahoma. I know that's dramatic for the moment, and we're going to give him credit for the 2-point conversion. We'll get into that later, but there is something that this team they just feed off Caleb Williams. I don't know any other way to say it.
He's a spark for this team.
There's a spark. There's a belief in him.
There's a gleam in their eyes, gentlemen.
It just the entire thing was incredible, and I guess we'll start with the bad though, because it's 3 minutes into that game, and I don't know if that thing could have started any worse for Oklahoma. Texas scores in the first play from the line of scrimmage. Was it Whittington that goes 75 the other way after a
no?
It was
hold on,
Xavier Worthy.
Yes, it was Worthy because he had a day. Let me tell you. All the people that had days, Kennedy Brooks had a day. Xavier Worthy had the day. He had 9 catches, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that long of 75. That was the very first play of the game.
Jaden Davis did not have a good day, and we can laugh about it because, obviously the way that the game ended. But I mean, my God, for about the first half of the game, Carey, I just, I kept looking over to T.J. Eckert and Nate Fakin that I was standing next to, and it's just like, what is happening? Like, what the hell is happening right now?
And the thing that was weird about it, Eddie, is like you're sitting there watching it. Now I'm back in Norman watching it, and you and Bob are at the game covering it. And it was very strange watching it on TV because it's kind of like, if you sold your house and they started doing a reality show in it, and you're like, I'm supposed to be there. Like, I live there. Like, so it was a very odd feeling watching it at home. I think that was the first time in 20 plus years. And it was just one of those things. Like, in my living room, I was like, well, this is going to, at some point, OU's going to wake up, right? Like, at some point, OU's going to get in this game, right? And I hate to say this, but it was never going to happen with Spencer Rattler as the quarterback.
No.
It just wasn't. You just felt like there was no momentum, like it was just careening downhill, and there was nothing that anyone could do. And I guess we got to start out by giving it up to Lincoln Riley for making something that's going to make his life a living hell dealing with personalities in the locker room.
And listen, if anybody watches the post game with Lincoln after the game, you're going to sit there and it's almost kind of agonizing in a way because he just won't come out and say it.
Right.
And I don't think he's that stupid. Like Carey, I'm telling you, you'll watch the sights and sounds, which is going to be incredible. And there's just the way that Caleb interacts with teammates, the way that they come and celebrate with him. After the touchdown throw, after he drops the snap and he gets the touchdown throw to Marvin Mims there in the third quarter, just that entire way that he goes up and down the sidelines yelling. And I mean, I know that it's not a huge deal, but there's something about the way that he invigorates his teammates. And, it was right before the final possession too, before Oklahoma ended up driving down to get into field goal range. It just, field goal range that ended up being a walk-off winner for Kennedy Brooks. But he's standing down there at the 15-yard line and he's going up to every one of the guys. Come on. This is our moment, basically. It just, I don't know.
You know what it feels like to me, the difference in these two quarterbacks? And this is, I don't know if I'm going to come up with a good analogy. It could be like Alex Grinch the other day that had that. We start fires all the time and we put them out and we say, look at what good firemen we are. I thought it was kind of a good analogy. He thought it was a little weird, which it might have been. But to me, Spencer Rattler is the neighborhood watch in the neighborhood watch program, and he only does things for people as long as it makes him look good. Whereas Caleb Williams is out there getting cats out of trees. He is.
He's the professional athlete that's playing pickup ball with the neighbor kids.
But I mean, I feel like Caleb Williams is this is okay. I'm supposed to give Marvin Williams a chance to catch this ball, even though it might come back to bite me in the ass. But
sure,
I would rather throw it up and give him an opportunity to make a catch, and let's see if we can make a play. It's not the smartest thing to do in the world, but that guy's pretty good, and if you just give him a chance to catch the ball, he's going to find it before the other guy does, and he's probably going to make a play. And that happened for the first time all year today. And I mean, there were several passes where he's just trying to, you feel like he's making kind of dangerous throws, but he's just out there slinging it, just trying to make some stuff happen, trying to distribute the football to people that can make plays. Whereas I think Spencer Rattler has fallen into this thing where he is out there playing it close to the vest, playing it too safe because he doesn't want to look bad and make a mistake. It's not, to me, somewhere along the line, it became a thing where Spencer Rattler's kind of like a selfish lover, and Caleb Williams is my slut.
I mean, just look at some of the throws that he made. The first throw that he made when he came into the game, it was there's something different about this. The 3rd and 19 throw to Marvin Mims, the touchdown that ended up when they were down 8. If he doesn't make that play, who knows? Who knows what happens? I mean, you could go back even to the first quarter too, and this is a Spencer Rattler throw, but if Mike Woods doesn't drag his foot in the first quarter, they might end up just getting blown out of the game. Who knows what happens?
Yeah. And think about those passes.
Absolutely incredible.
Those passes. I mean, the way that Rattler reacted, how pissed off he was at Stogner when he threw that interception.
Yeah.
It was just how dare you do this to me and run the wrong route. It was he was mad because he threw it, which I don't know. It just seems like it's flipped somehow. And now
it's just a bad look, Carey. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a bad look. And, credit to him for coming in and getting the 2-point conversion. But I'll have to go back and look. And it's probably not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. But, even when Caleb's running off onto the field or off of the field when they had to punt or when they, didn't score or something, I got one shot and he just runs right past Spencer Rattler. And if everybody was on the same page in that quarterback room, I don't know. I feel like in past years, somebody would have, if the backup stops the starter there and they talk about what happened on that play.
You know what's funny?
It just doesn't happen like that, man.
You know what's funny, Eddie, is Caleb Williams comes into the game and he makes that one play early where he runs around the edge and tries to hit Braden Willis in the end zone, who dives for it. You should have seen. I mean, like, Kirk Herbstreit literally fell in love with Caleb Williams on that play. Like, he couldn't believe that he was under all that pressure and rolled out and found that passing lane. Like, he was like, he's never complimented Spencer Rattler like that before, because I don't think he would make that throw.
No.
But
and the 66-yarder, I mean, we haven't even mentioned the 4th and 1 that he comes in and then scores a touchdown on it. Like, he's able, and maybe the offensive line isn't good. Maybe they are just what they are, and they played well today. I mean, my God, we have to talk about Kennedy Brooks. He had 217 yards today. But at the same time, like, when things break down, Caleb Williams is just more athletic. He's able to make things happen with his legs. And
well, he is, but here's the other thing, though.
There's no turning back. He has to be the starter.
Here's the other thing. Caleb Williams, in one day of work, not even a full day, he stayed in the pocket and delivered footballs under duress more than Spencer Rattler has all season. Like, 100%. He got hit in the mouth waiting for Mario Williams to come open on a play, and it could have gone really bad. It could have been a fumble. But that's what, like, Herbstreit was pointing out. Like, this is what he's doing. He sees this route developing, and if he can get the ball to Mario Williams, he's going to have it all by himself. And there were other things.
1,000%.
There were other things that were happening, like Kirk Herbstreit was like, "Where's Mario Williams today?" And then, like, all of a sudden, he's getting passes thrown to him.
Sure. Well, and the play that, and Mario did have a good day. The play that a lot of people haven't talked about is the one that he just threw up to Marvin Williams to Marvin Mims, and I thought he might have got away with a little bit of a push off there. But at the same time, I mean, what a big play that was in its own right as well. And, like, I don't know how much they go hand in hand, Carey, but Oklahoma's defense was not good in the first half. Second half, they came out and played like absolute madmen. There's a pop that Danny Stutzman brings to that defense that they just don't have when he's not out there.
Were you able to get on the coaches or the players call?
I got on the very end of the coaches with Alex Grinch because there's a bunch of bullshit down on the field. And Carey, the students rushed the field.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's what kind of day it was at the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah. It was crazy. Well, the reason I was asking about, what you heard on the post game is, I jumped on with Lincoln and he was done, and I heard Isaiah Thomas was coming up, so I was like, oh, let's do it. Let's go mess with Isaiah. And I asked him a serious question. I was like, what happened at halftime? Because I don't know how much you noticed it. I know I was tweeting about this or, put it in the war room. But they essentially moved him into a defensive tackle position for most of the second half. Okay. And that was planned. Like, in the locker room, they'd asked him, I guess Calvin had gone to Jamar Cain and said, hey, can I get some snaps in the middle from Isaiah? And they're like, yeah, sure. And it worked so well in the second half, they're like, let's just do this, make this the plan. And so you saw a lot more Ethan Downs, you saw a lot more Reggie Grimes, and that's because they were playing Isaiah Thomas on the inside along with Perrin Winfrey. And Nick Bonito was great all game, but those two, Thomas and Winfrey, just wreaked havoc in the backfield and kept getting to Bijan Robinson before he could even, get going.
Casey Thompson was under siege in the second half. There's just no other way to say it. I mean, my God, they were incredible. Nick Bonito, it seemed like, was chasing him out of the pocket the entire second half. And, I mean, the job that defense did against Bijan Robinson, who absolutely murdered them in the first half, it was incredible. And, the weird thing was, like, it's kind of what you were talking about. Is like you thought that they were going to keep getting back into the game. They were going to keep getting back into the game. And Texas, for the most part, they punched right back every time. But credit, though, you crowd, like on that side of the field, they didn't leave, even when it was an 18-point ball game at halftime. Like, you just got this feeling. It was like, what's everybody know that I don't right now? Like, why does it feel like OU's just they continue to push. They continue to push. And even when they settled for the field goal to cut it to 15 there in the third quarter, like, I turned to Nate and TJ and it was like, I think that's it. Like, I just don't know if they can get over that hump. But then they get to, what was it, 3rd and long, right as the fourth quarter began.
Right.
And like that was the moment that it kind of felt like, okay, this is like
the defense is figuring this out,
time.
and the offense is driving it. They're kicking too many field goals, but the offense is moving every time they've got the ball. And as soon as the defense started to clamp down, you started thinking, this might get interesting, and then it did.
Yeah.
They kept chasing that 11, like they were down 11, and they'd get down, by 18 again, or 15 or whatever. Like
they could just never, it seemed like, get over that hump. And I think, I mean, I don't know exactly what that moment was, because the Caleb Kelly thing came after they had tied it up. It just seemed like,
I mean, the Caleb Kelly thing. I mean, just another one of those things. Like, what a huge play. I mean, you know what flashed in front of my face while I was watching that is, well, it's a little makeup for Oregon back in the day.
yeah,
because they played the replay the first time, and they're like, oh, it's out. Like Caleb Kelly just ripped the ball out of his hands before they could go down. And just took it.
Did Sarkisian say anything after the game about that play? Because the guy brought it out from about 6 yards deep in the end zone.
Oh, you mean why he wanted to bring it out? Yeah. I mean, they just showed a lot on television of him kind of settling down.
Yeah.
It was the Worthy kid, I believe, that brought it out, wasn't it?
I forget. I mean, I got a great shot on it though. You feel great for Caleb Kelly. That was unbelievable. That fourth quarter, that comeback. I don't know if you saw it earlier, but ESPN Stats and Info tweeted out earlier this afternoon after the game that it's the first time that Texas has ever blown a 21-point lead in the school's history. It's the largest comeback in Oklahoma history. It's bigger than the 2019 Baylor game. It almost doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And now you get through that with a win, and it's almost kind of like it's very fascinating.
It's a rebirth of this team. It
really is. It really is. And we saw what that did for the 19 team. You need some of those wins like that. And I don't think that there's any other way you go than with, and I can't believe it. I'm about to say this, but with Caleb with Caleb Williams as your starting quarterback. I mean, it was incredible. And at some point we're going to have to talk about Kennedy Brooks, because it seemed like they're in maybe even late second quarter. It seemed like offensive line wise, and they got beat in their own right at moments today, but it seemed like there was a moment where they started getting whatever they wanted on the ground. And especially in the fourth quarter, that was just, Kennedy Brooks was excellent today. And how much does that game change as well if he's not down, if his knee's not down on the fumble?
Yeah,
he got caught from behind in the
problem is
quarter.
it was really, really down. Like, it wasn't even close.
Oh yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, the first half of that game, Bijan Robinson was the best player on the field, most talented, but just freak athlete. Like, you could see, like, okay, well, it's 28-7. If he's going to be ripping off 50-yard runs, this thing's going to be over real quick. And of all that you looked at, 20 carries, 137 yards, and 1 touchdown was the damage that he did. You look at that and compared to what Kennedy Brooks did, 25 carries, 217 yards, and 2 touchdowns. His longest run was longer than Bijan Robinson's longest run.
It's unbelievable.
65-50. And then he had the game clincher. I mean, it was, it's kind of like when you face that.
The game clincher and the one before that, the direct snap, those are two of the better videos that we got out of the entire day. I mean, it was like the sea just opened on both of those, and he hit it. And like, I don't think that we've ever claimed that Kennedy Brooks is the fastest person in the entire world. Not to say that he's slow, but it was like nobody's catching him. He's gone.
It's kind of like if you have a home run derby contest between like Aaron Judge and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Like, one just looks the part, and the other looks like maybe he's had a few too many donuts. but the guy that's not as athletic looking he just has a day, and he just buries you in the home run contest. Like that's what Kennedy Brooks did today. He wasn't the sexiest runner out there, but he buried Texas, and he buried Bijan Robinson.
It was truly incredible. Like I can't put into words what it was like to be in that stadium as that comeback, and especially down on the field. Like I tweeted it out. I've never seen the Cotton Bowl hit pandemonium like that.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it was like the student section was absolutely insane, and I can't help but think, when you're down to 18 points, and even at halftime when OU came out of the tunnel in the second half, it just felt like it was a crowd saying, like, we are going to be here, go produce, and sure enough, they were able to pull it out.
Man, I mean, the amazing thing is that Lincoln made the move. I mean, like, he made the move to Caleb. Can you imagine if they had lost this game by 35 with Spencer Rattler at the quarterback, like the pressure he would be under moving forward? It's already been ridiculous, but there would have been a full-on "we want Caleb." Like, it would have been a huge chorus throughout the state.
I didn't get any of it on video, but people were chanting that, at the end of the second quarter. Like, it was to the point, and especially after the fumble. After the fumble, it felt like that was kind of the final straw. Like, it just, it's hard to kind of describe what the feeling was inside that stadium, but it was like everybody knew. And I think to a certain extent, even Spencer Rattler knew. It was like, at some point you just got to throw your hands up in the air and say, like, I've done everything that I can, and maybe it's just not my day, but like, Caleb Williams has a certain ingredient that people just gravitate towards. And, we've talked about this over the first 5 games. Spencer Rattler just doesn't have whatever that is. And maybe it's very easy to say that because we only see him on Saturdays, but just the way that he kind of operates, the way that, he kind of looks everybody in the eye to a certain extent. It's different. And you can only wonder, like, where this offense is. Like, don't you think that they moved the ball just flat out better with Caleb Williams back there?
Yeah, very much so.
Like,
and I don't think you can ignore the extra. I mean, the way that he reads the zone read is different.
Yeah,
he looks much more natural doing it.
He's very comfortable doing it.
And just overall, his ability to escape the pocket and to stay in the pocket. I mean, those are two different qualities that he has over Spencer Rattler.
Don't get me wrong. Like, he's going to make mistakes, people. Caleb Williams is going to make mistakes in the future, but you just kind of got to learn it. You got to learn to live with it, because I think that, as of right now with what we saw, and maybe we're just caught up in the post-game high, but like, it's worth living. It's worth living with, I think, if he's going to make some mistakes, because he just means that much more to the offense right now. And it was truly kind of one of those special moments at the Cotton Bowl where it's like, I was talking to a couple of people walking off the field, and it's almost like you kind of get that, like, goosebump feeling of, like, did I just see, like, kind of a legend be born right in front of our eyes? Like, has a player ever come in outside of Jason White come into an OU Texas game like that? I mean, you talk about the stage being thrown out there, down 18, and basically willed them back to victory.
Yeah, I mean, it's really,
it's insane.
It's really bizarre.
It's insane
like,
to sit here and think.
You don't see it a whole lot. But I'll say this. It was a totally different way of operating things. Like, you could tell, like, Lincoln Riley was being a lot more deliberate in what he was calling and how he was calling. Like, everything took so long, and they were doing the check with me. And they did a little bit of tempo, but not much.
Yeah.
And that makes me wonder, like, okay, well, there's a lot of stuff that they have to get into his head before he's ready to be really that guy.
I mean, seriously, when Spencer Rattler starts running out there for the 2-point conversion, and, like, it flashed through my mind, like, does Caleb Williams just not know a 2-point conversion package? Is that like, do they not have plays that he knows for him to be in there? Like it
I mean, it could be
was just insane.
I mean, it could be like, you practice that 2-minute stuff. You practice goal line. You practice, 1st and 5 from the goal. You practice 3rd and 2 from the, 3rd and go from the 2. Like you do all those kinds of things. Spencer Rattler's had 3 years of going through that. Caleb Williams hasn't. So it's very possible that we need to run this play against this defense. And we haven't repped it enough with Caleb, so we need to put Rattler in there. And it worked.
Absolutely incredible. It just was incredible. And, it's kind of like you said during the postgame thing to Lincoln. I mean, the job that they did shutting down the run in the third quarter when momentum, you could feel it every time that they got into 2nd and long and then 3rd and long. The momentum that they got with the pressure and the play of the defensive line was just incredible.
Well, and I thought that OU and Lincoln went out of his way to pat the strength and conditioning staff on the back.
Yeah,
I did really feel like Texas wore down. Like
it was miserably hot out there. There's just no other way to say it. It wasn't Tulane miserable. Because I think there's a little bit more wind down on the field as opposed to in Norman where the structure is a little bit bigger. But, I mean, it was hot, and I can't remember a guy ever going down with any type of, cramp or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and the rotations worked well, although, I thought they were a little bit. The one thing that I think you have to take out of this that's the biggest negative today is probably the secondary. And probably Jaden Davis, most likely, out of everyone.
They really, and I don't know. I don't know how quickly they can get somebody like a Woody Washington back. And Delaware Turner-Yell only played 1 snap today. Is that right? Like, he went through the entire pregame, but I think he was only out there one time.
I mean, he was in on the very first play of the game, and I don't know if he left after that or if it was on the next possession. Okay. It might have been the first play of the second possession, but yeah, I mean, he obviously re-aggravated whatever it was with his hamstring.
Yeah, they need to get healthy in the defensive backfield. I didn't think that Latrell McCutcheon just played awful by any means. I didn't think that DJ Graham just played awful by any means. It was very obvious that they were picking on 4 early and often. And, I don't know if it's just a little bit of a sophomore slump right now for Jaden Davis, but, that one time was it him or McCutcheon that got beat over the top and he wasn't even within like 10 yards of the guy? I think it was in the first half.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Jaden Davis missed tackle on the very first play that ended up going for 75. That's one I can't get out of my head. There was some, and it was, some of that stuff was B. John Robinson, so you kind of forgive it. Like when Billy Bowman got stiff-armed into the ground, it was like B. John Robinson was Derrick Henry all of a sudden. Sure. But it's just like, there's just a lot of play out there. You're just like, oh man, that's just not good. Like, it's got to be better. But yeah, I mean, the getting beat, deep all the time. I mean, it was so feast or famine.
They got to figure that out. I mean, there will be moments that that is taken advantage of, and I would imagine the teams are going to continue to try to take advantage of them if they don't prove to be able to stop it. Now, the other side of it is they weren't able to do it in the second half as much. I know that they got them on the game tying drive, but it was because of the pressure that was being put out by the defensive line. And how about Gabe Burkett today, man? He's as solid as it gets. There's just no other way to say it. He is a solid kicker. And everything looked good. And I just figured that they'd go down there, run out the clock, and have him kick like a 40-yarder. I did too.
To end the game.
I did too. Were you surprised that Sark didn't go for 2? Or think about, like, if there's 30 seconds left as opposed to a minute 13.
Yeah.
I kind of think he goes for 2.
I thought he might, just because the momentum was gone for them.
Yeah.
Like that touchdown play they had to tie it at 48. I was just like, there's not a lot of momentum behind this offense right now, and their defense is not good. Like I thought he should have gone for 2. Of course, now we know it wouldn't have mattered.
Sure.
But
but you're probably not running the ball there either, though. If you're down by, well, maybe so. If you're down by 1, who knows? But it just it was an incredible day at the Cotton Bowl down in Dallas. It was it's going to be one that I think obviously people are going to talk about for years to come. I mean, and just like the magnitude of it too, because of the quarterback exchange, because of like the birth of Caleb Williams as we know it. Like, I mean, it almost is it over the top to say that it completely changes the trajectory of this thing right now?
Well, I mean, I think what this does for fans out there is it's kind of like, we called it a rebirth, but it's a reset for everybody. The expectations that you had going into the year weren't there. They're still not, it's not like everything's fixed. I think it looks like you're better at quarterback now, which gives you a chance to be better offensively, which gives you a chance to kind of get into more of an elite territory than you were in, because essentially everything, you're still just won a game in the final seconds. I mean, you're still scrapping and clawing for everything. And by the way, Demarion Overshown is really good.
Dude, I mean, Texas, that's the thing though, Carey. It's like, I didn't think that Texas necessarily, they played really well at times. Like, there was moments where I'm texting buddies like, this is the nightmare that I think a lot of people thought when they hired Tom Herman. Like, it seems like everything is moving in the right direction for this program.
Yeah.
And then it just at the flip of a switch just completely turned. Are we going to be graced by a visitor here pretty soon? By a special guest?
I believe that's true. I guess we'll have to wait and check the talk machine here next to me.
I love it. I'm going to send Bob out to the fair.
He likes the grand entrance. He likes saving the day.
Hey, how about the clip of Bob celebrating?
That was fantastic.
City? How cool was that?
That was very cool. I was very fired up this morning. Got a Bob retweet of the Isaiah Thomas show, which I appreciated.
I would imagine that the Isaiah Thomas show this week will have some things to go over. He was the first guy that got the hat too, and took it over to the team. Like that was the other thing. Like the post game, usually they have like the hat ceremony, they have the picture ceremony, they have like it's all pretty structured how it goes down after the game.
I'll just tell you this: like, people bet games for the thrill of it, the excitement of it. Go sign someone to a name, image, likeness deal. If you want to gamble, go do that, because like if they had lost this game, like I'm living with every time they go down another point, it's like knives in the gut. Because I'm just like, what if he just decides he doesn't want to do shows anymore if they lose a game?
Right.
Like, what am I supposed to do?
It's like I told you, man. It like you could feel it inside the stadium that like they almost kind of willed themselves back into that game without really even doing anything on the field. I can't explain the way that momentum shifted in that stadium. And it might have been because I was standing on the OU end in the fourth quarter, but like just walking down there, because Texas was going to come out and they were going to face that 3rd and long coming to start the fourth quarter. And it just like, it felt different. Like something had clicked that it felt like they were going to get themselves back in that football game.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I never felt like they were completely out of it. What do we have here? We have a disconnection. That's what we have. He's trying, though.
We're good.
No, but I never really felt like, okay, they're done. This game is over. There's no way that they don't have a chance to come back. So
yeah.
And I believe we welcome in now from League City, Texas,
Oh, no.
Mr. Josh
put on
McQuiston.
blast.
You don't have any theme music. You need some theme music. I do hear some whiskey.
Yeah, that's happened. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Don't want anybody to come in with high expectations for me in this one.
No, you love coming in and saving the day.
Yeah, saving the day. So what do you guys talked about already? Let's fill me in. Yeah, that's real hot stuff. I didn't know that.
I mean, obviously,
that works out great.
We spent a lot of time on the quarterback situation. We've kind of hit the only thing that we really haven't just kind of really broken down is just what they were doing defensively when things started going really well. I kind of mentioned that talking to Isaiah after the game, that he mentioned at halftime they decided the plan was that he was going to play inside, and how much that really paid off. But Nick Bonito was fantastic. Perrion had his best day today as well, which I remember Isaiah telling me that Perrion gets really super extra fired up for this game.
Interesting. You'd think. You can't think of a kid less regionally interested in this game than Perrion Winfrey.
He just knows that Texas hates Oklahoma and Oklahoma hates Texas, and he feeds off of that.
I think that's fair. He does strike me as a guy that would feed off just pure anger and emotion. So he's like a black hole. He just sucks that stuff in. But no, who was it on the podcast? We vaguely touched on Isaiah Thomas hasn't been used much inside. Because somebody brought it up to me afterward, and I was like, yeah, that is a really interesting point that I hadn't thought much about. But it came up in some capacity, and I can't remember what it was. But, yeah, it's just telling how much that changed in the second half. I mean, Texas could get nothing going in the second half, and it was just the pressure between Thomas and Bonito. And then Winfrey really gave – yeah, I mean, I think with the exception of Mims and Brooks, they were my three highest scorers on the roster, those three guys. So I thought they all played just absolutely outstanding.
I mean, the thing that is frustrating is knowing that if you get enough time, you're going to be able to complete a pass against this OU secondary because you're going to either get behind them or – I mean, that's the thing that's just, like, baffling to me is – just how wide open the busts and and it's not the first time we've seen it. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I mean, and Alex Grinch, you're in charge of that stuff, dude. Like, you're the DB coach. You and Roy Manning.
Yeah. We've talked about it for a few weeks. If you would have told me that Woody Washington was the guy on this defense they just can't replace, I don't know that I would have believed you. But man, I mean, it's uncanny. Now, you guys, you look at it, they're not going to DJ Graham's side at all.
No,
they're not messing with him even a little bit.
But that's that's Sarkisian. He comes from that NFL background where if you see something you can exploit, you just keep exploiting it. That's the NFL way of life right there.
Yeah, I mean, and I said something early on in the game. I was like, this is like LSU. Texas is just going to go at Jaden Davis and go at him. And until OU figures out a way to stop it. And they never really did. I think in the second half, they just said, okay, we're going to work to get home fast enough that you don't have time for Xavier Worthy to get vertical. And so they completed some passes to Worthy, but it wasn't the back-breaking, huge plays that he was getting in that first half, except, of course, obviously for the late touchdown. But, I mean, that – people are like, well, McCutcheon got beat too. McCutcheon was in the ballpark. Like, he was vaguely there. Like, and he's a freshman. There's stuff that you got to accept that's going to happen with young guys. Jaden Davis he's a junior. He is what he is. And I touched on it in under the hood. Like I said, this is good. This matchup is a problem because Worthy's a flyer, man, and he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So this is other teams that have guys that can run like that, which, I admit aren't everybody. They're gonna try to line them up on Jaden Davis and do exactly what Texas did today.
I will say this, and I think this is what Casey Thompson does, a lot of the same things that Caleb Williams does. And this is one thing we talked about earlier, Josh. The biggest difference that I see between Caleb Williams and Spencer Rattler on the field is that Caleb Williams seems to know that his job is to distribute the football and give people an opportunity to make plays. To where, to me, Spencer Rattler is out there and he's more looking at it from a perspective of, look, if this is good for me, I'll do it for you. Like, if this isn't too, I don't really want to throw a jump ball to Marvin Mims 50 yards down the field to see if he can get it, because it might get intercepted and I'll look bad.
Yep. Everything's got to be so perfect that he can't just let a good player go make a play. Like, 'cause there's no question. He doesn't make that throw to Marvin Mims. There's no way he does that. And Caleb just trusted his guy. He said, I like my guy better than the other guy, and I'm going to let him go make a play.
And I saw Caleb Williams was working back shoulder throws to Jaden Hazelwood a lot.
Dude, the throw to Jaden Hazelwood, the back shoulder, that was an incomplete pass in the third quarter, and I think it was on the drive that they ended up having to settle for a field goal to cut it to 15. That is a great throw.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the one in the end zone that should have been a touchdown?
Yes.
That he dove laid out
That was an
for?
incredible
Yeah.
throw. Guys, did he, and maybe you guys have already talked about this, did he surprise you with his velocity? Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
Dude,
I knew he could throw, but wow.
Touchdown throw to Mims.
Yeah.
Like the one on the drop pass, on the drop snap. That is an incredible play for somebody being thrown on to that stage at that moment to come up and just collect himself and then to deliver the football like that. Oh my God.
Well, and the
Like,
thing
it almost makes me go like, how the hell did this guy not start from the beginning? I don't want to get into that conversation because I know where that leads.
Well, it was never an
But there
open
were moments
competition. So, I mean, like, you can say all you want. It was never an open competition. And it's understandable why it wasn't, because Lincoln Riley was married to Spencer Rattler. He had to see the marriage had to fail before he could get out of it. It still has to fail before he can get out of it.
He benched the guy that was fourth in the Heisman Trophy odds today, and we're talking about why they didn't start the other guy for the first 5 games. Like, that's how weird this season has been, but it's also a credit to Caleb
it's not
Williams.
as bad, but you guys know how I feel like Charleston Rambo ruined the season last year, because when you get in that situation, when you're committed to a guy that's good, but you need him to make a step to be great, you still have to give him that opportunity to be great. And they gave Charleston Rambo that opportunity last year, and it derailed the entire offense early in the season. But now, like I'm saying, this isn't as extreme as an example, but look, Spencer Rattler, you had a chance to make that jump, and you didn't make it. Like, I can't
Josh,
imagine
is it like
what his family, and Lincoln Riley have to go through now with this whole thing, because there's going to be a lot of finger pointing going around.
That's going to be an ugly conversation this week. You guarantee it.
Well, he gets paid $7.5 million a year to make that conversation.
Oh, sure. I
don't feel too bad for him.
Well, it's both, the situation he's put himself in, kind of, hitching his wagon so strongly to Rattler, which, again, I understand. I'm with Carey. I get why he did what he did. But at the same time, it's hard to feel bad for Lincoln Riley when his fallback option looked that friggin' good. And like I said, playing his first meaningful football in about 2 years.
Yeah.
And just walk out there and do that today.
I remember I hit you guys up in the war room, and I was like, it really has been since 2019 since he really had meaningful snaps in a game, hasn't it? Like, and that was in high school. That was a junior in high school. Like, these are college reps, and he hasn't really played in a game in 2 years.
It's incredible. Josh, I mean, is it?
Yeah.
Is it like just complete crazy, caught in the moment, dramatic talk to say that, like, and I told Carey this at the beginning of the show. It's like, I don't know if you can legitimately put Spencer Rattler back out there to take meaningful snaps at the University of Oklahoma in front of Caleb Williams anymore.
Aside from just how the two played, I mean, somebody put up a graphic today, and you guys may have seen it as well, where it was like 30 plays with Spencer Rattler for like 150 yards. And then with Caleb, it was something like a similar amount of plays, like, 45 maybe. And it was like 510 yards of offense. Like, I don't know how you do that. But also, and Eddie, you could speak to it better than me, but man, it felt like that whole team reacted just differently when he was on the field. Like, everybody just looked like they had a little more juice, a little more excitement. I don't know if that's my imagination or what.
We were zaprudering just the flag plant. I mean, just looking at everyone during the flag plant, it's just like
you saw the video that I put on the board and tweeted out with all the players coming up to him after the game. It's like he just kept telling everybody, it's like, I told you all, stick with me, and we were going to win that game. And it just he has something that it's somebody on the sidelines told me today, and it couldn't be any closer to the truth as far as the way the description was. He doesn't have the athletic ability. I don't think anybody would ever say that he does. That Kyler had, but when compared to Spencer, he does, if that makes sense. But he also has that togetherness, that draw as far as being a quarterback that Baker had. And, far from ever being those two guys. I don't think they're going to be building a statue after one game, but he has those intangibles that you could build something off of. There's no doubt about that. And as Carey said, like, this win right now today is a springboard into the back half of the schedule, and it's going to be really, really incredible to see kind of what Caleb Williams does now as what we think is the starter.
Well, here's something you can't discount, and that is the element that Caleb Williams brings to the game that Spencer Rattler does not, which is you have to be concerned with him pulling the ball down and running it.
Sure.
You never had that with Spencer Rattler.
Sure.
I thought Eric Gray looked like a different guy once Caleb Williams came out there because all of a sudden it was opening up things for him to go around that corner that hadn't been there for the first 5 games of the year.
No, it's a great point, Josh. I mean, I was also telling Carey, it's like the feeling inside that stadium when Caleb Williams, when you knew that he was going to be the guy, and they started getting things going there in the third quarter, and the defense was playing together. It just I can't explain the type of like momentum that was felt on the Oklahoma side of the field. You could feel it all the way down on the Texas end, and then of course when you got down to the Oklahoma end in the fourth quarter, and Texas is going to face the third and long coming out of the TV timeout in between quarters, it just felt like they were going to will this thing, no matter how far they were down, no matter how much the chips were stacked up against them. It was incredible. It was a lot of fun to be a part of.
Guys, for you, I can't decide what to make of this team. In the first quarter, I'm watching them, I'm like, they don't look like they give a shit. They don't look like they care about being here at all. And then in the fourth quarter, you're like, how the hell has this bunch of dudes that have got some injury problems, have got a freshman quarterback that's never played meaningful snaps at the college level, how have they fought their way back into this game that they frankly had no business being in? I don't know. Are they really damn tough? Are they soft? I don't know what it is, but they're somewhere in the crazy middle of those two extremely polar ideas.
They're the hardest soft guy on the block. I don't know how to explain it.
Let's be honest. You have to put the start of the game on the coaching staff. That was a team that was not ready to play today. Their readiness was as shitty as any readiness I've ever seen in the history of this rivalry.
It was to look up and to see that they're down 14 after getting scored on the first play of the game, going 3 and out, getting a punt blocked. In a way, for them to even come back from that is something. Not to mention that they were down by 21 at one point. And Josh, you tweeted it out like, who knows what happens if Mike Woods doesn't come down with that like, think about the third and long plays that Oklahoma had today, whether it be the Mike Woods play or you go into the fourth quarter with the 3rd and 19 throw to Marvin Mims. It just like they kept coming up with big plays. Even Eric Gray picked up on a draw, I believe, in the first half, picked up a 3rd and 10. That was a great play call. It was incredible.
Guys, I said something like early fourth quarter, and I was like, I really don't care what happens from here. This team showed something to fight back this way like that. And I was shocked how many OU fans were like, "You're right." And because usually when I say something like that, that's either sentimental or big picture or whatever, they're like, "You puss, can't think that way. Got to go win. Like only matters if you win."
Why don't you go try running the Scoop account for a game? All right.
And so, I really expected that, and a lot of OU fans were like, "Man, this is just amazing. Like it's amazing that they did what they've done here." And like I said, it's one of those games like we'll talk about forever. I mean, you thought 2020 was crazy, and then this game comes along and just couldn't have been bigger momentum swings. And every time you kind of thought, you'd get back in the game, they wouldn't do it. Then the defense got rolling, and it was just a totally different thing. And like I said, I mean, it's one of those deals too where you look at it, guys. And I mean, I'm sure you've talked about it. The defensive front and the work they did on Bijan Robinson is exemplary. I mean, just people are, he got that big run and he had 130 yards or whatever. Man, if you could have told OU's coaches from the start of that game, Bijan Robinson's going to break one big run and he's going to have 130 yards total, they say, we'll win this game. Like they would have taken that every day of the week.
Well, that was the stat that I put out on the Scoop account. But Josh, I made some terrible analogies earlier. I'll admit that now.
Oh God. Am I going to be canceled for coming on this podcast after the fact?
They were just they weren't politically incorrect. Yeah, Eddie's on this podcast, so you still have
Fair.
a chance for that to happen. No, but it's like I probably used a bad example. It's like Aaron Judge in a home run hitting contest. I said Vlad Guerrero, but it'd be more somebody like Will Clark or something. It's like Kennedy Brooks is not the sexiest looking guy. I mean, Bijan Robinson looks like he looks closer to Reggie Bush than anything I've seen in a while with the way he cuts, and he's poetry in motion. Kennedy Brooks is a different. I mean, he's fantastic to watch. Don't get me wrong. Like he does shit, and you're just like, God, how is he this good? Like you can't. It's hard for you to process what is so special about him. We've talked about it for years now, but. Yep. I mean, you put their stat lines next to each other. Bijan Robinson, 20 carries. That's a lot of carries. 137 yards. That was really good. He had one touchdown and that beautiful 50-yard run where he got down to, the 1 or the 2 yard line before they knocked him out. And you think, man, that guy put on a clinic. Then you put up Kennedy Brooks' stat line. 25 carries, 5 more. 217 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he had an even longest run of 65 yards. So Kennedy Brooks, and it was funny because Bijan Robinson had like 10 yards of carry throughout the game, and they kept joking about it. Bijan Robinson ends up with 6.9 yards average. Kennedy Brooks, 8.7. Maybe it's more like Seabiscuit, It's like War Admiral and Seabiscuit.
I think that's not bad. That's not bad. We might get canceled for that, but that's not bad.
Wait, was War Admiral a Nazi horse or something? I didn't know this.
Probably. I mean, he was in that era of America. I mean, I'm surely there was some ownership that was connected to some sort of hatred, but
Probably.
Whatever. Anyway, the thing, and I will fully own this about myself. I don't think the way my brain operates as a recruiting guy, I'll ever be able to give Kennedy Brooks the credit he deserves. Like, I can't get past what he's not, and it makes it hard for me to accept what he is.
Did you notice how, like, if you see the replay on that final play, he's just running past everyone. Like, I'm like, how is Kennedy Brooks this fucking fast? Like, I didn't know he had that in him, but like you watch it and literally the yard markers are flying by like he is a racehorse. I mean, it's unbelievable. I guess the racehorse thing and comparing people to animals is bad, but
yeah, I think so. That there's the danger zone. But no, I mean, I know what you mean. Like, I mean, part of it too is he's one of those guys, and we all knew one growing up that you're like, he's not running that fast, and then you're like, holy crap, he's eating up ground like crazy. Because it looks so easy and natural. He's got that long stride. You don't realize how much ground he's covering until he's 20 yards down the field.
Marvin Mims is kind of like that too.
Oh, yeah. Guys, there was a conversation when Marvin Mims was a senior of if he really had the ability to stretch the field, like if he had that kind of speed. And there was a lot of people that bought into it. And that's why I think a lot of people thought he was going to go to Stanford, because at Stanford he's a speedy guy. And at places like Oklahoma, that speed won't translate like that. and all I see is Marvin Mims run past people. So I don't know. But
and my God, what a bullet they dodged with that punt today, where Drake Stoops let himself get blocked into Marvin Mims.
Yeah,
and it just so happened to hit a
there were
Texas player on the shoulder.
They're down by 18 at halftime, and there's so many things in the first half that you go, God damn, they were lucky to be down by 18 at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just like they fought like a hard-fought 18-point deficit. It was but it
was also like they were down by 18 at halftime, and you're like, they're lucky to not be down more, but you're also saying to yourself, this could also be closer.
I know.
That's
like,
how stupid that first half was.
Yeah, that first half was ridiculous. I mean, it's just like, how often do you go into halftime saying, well, could be so much worse, but it's really not that bad either.
There was like 9 minutes left in the first quarter, and I looked up and thinking that there was like 2 minutes left in the first quarter. The first half took 4
Oh, my God. Well, the replays were out of control early.
Yeah. Well, they needed all of them.
Guys, I mean, even into the fourth quarter, OU takes the lead. You're like, this crazy game, this crazy comeback has happened. There's still 7 minutes of football left. Like, I mean, we weren't even close to the end, and you kind of had to reset. And and I said something at the time. I was like, this is the danger, because OU's been great all season when they're up against it. It's been when they're things get comfortable is when they seem to get in trouble.
How about our boy, Danny Stutzman, man? What a Carey, I'm sorry I haven't said it yet, but what a fucking football player. I mean, just an incredible football player. I get excited when he's out on the football field.
Can we just call him Danny fucking Football? Like, can he just be that? Like that?
Yes.
I'm fine with that.
That's kind of that's been coming. Like, no one's called a player, so and so fucking guy. Like, but as crass as the country is now, I think that's acceptable.
Yeah, and he plays like that kind of guy.
They need him to keep coming, to keep getting better.
Oh, sure.
But then then you have a Spencer Rattler situation on the defense, because you got to replace either Asamoah or Deshaun White.
I think those two would handle a lot better than it would appear that Rattler has handled things.
Guys, I thought Asamoah had a great game today. I thought he played really well.
He was a little in danger of getting some taunting here and there, though.
I was like, stop messing with Bijan. They're going to be real careful with Bijan. Stop putting knees
hovering
in his
over him.
Yeah,
like when he's
don't do that.
Yeah,
100%.
Which, by the way, you're not the one tackling him behind the line of scrimmage. That's Isaiah Thomas and Perrion Winfrey. They're the ones doing the real work. Okay, and it is bizarre because Josh, I don't ever remember seeing a defensive line that is this active in stopping the run.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
I mean, that's the thing, guys. You were talking about Bijan's stats earlier. I'm pretty sure he went into halftime at like 115 or something, somewhere in that ballpark.
They had 27 yards rushing in the entire second half.
That's incredible. I mean, that really is just unbelievable. And again, guys, we talked about it in the unofficial 40. We've talked about it on the board all week. Casey Thompson is a dangerous runner, and they didn't allow him anywhere. And we talked about Deshaun White and Asamoah. There was one where he was breaking out left, and Deshaun White did an incredible job. Reads him, comes up, fills, and then Thompson kind of has to float back into the group. That's exactly when it was. It was when Isaiah Thomas got the sack, and he should have had it early, but he got grabbed by Christian Jones. And then as Casey works his way back towards him, Isaiah Thomas just basically catches him and takes him down. But, I mean, their pressure was so good up front that I thought it was the best I'd seen the linebackers play. I didn't think they had a bad day. There was really one guy that just got roasted, and then you had Bijan Robinson making some plays.
He's really good.
He's incredible. He's the best back in the country.
Man.
I don't even think it's close.
That he had in the second quarter, that was just absolutely.
I mean, that was definitely Sarkisian. Definitely kind of pulled a little bit of a Lincoln Riley in his first OU Texas game, where he should have forced the issue with Bijan. Of course, he did run it 20 times.
Yeah, but I mean, you think about that. Like, it's one of those things where, especially there when it was starting to get tight, it got to 38-23, that sort of thing. I'm saying to myself, if we're going to go down, we're going to throw our best punch, and Bijan Robinson is our best punch. And if they can stop that, we're going to run that for 3 downs. We're going to do whatever we need to do. or at least like, we're going to make it look that way. And then third, maybe we pull something and do something more unique, but we're going to get him as many touches as humanly possible. Did they throw to him? I don't remember.
He had one catch, I believe, on the day.
Yeah. I thought he would be a bigger, have a more of an impact than that. He had one catch for 2 yards.
I thought for the most part too. I thought Casey Thompson played pretty damn well.
He did.
He didn't go. He wasn't able to go win it for him, but I thought he had a nice game plan as well.
If they have somebody better on that roster, I'd be shocked at quarterback. Like, I don't know that Hudson Card will ever be that guy.
Yeah.
Is it me, or do you I don't know, Josh, just as a publisher, maybe it's like I almost feel a sense of sadness for Jeff Ketchum and Jason Sukamel and all those guys and more, because it's just God, this was such a great. This was supposed to be such a great moment for them and their fans, and it just all went to shit. And maybe that's just what Texas has gotten used to.
Well, and it's so much worse because they thought they tasted it.
Yeah,
there were threads oh my God, this is why we brought Sark here. I haven't looked, but I'm.
Sorry, my internet went down. Hopefully that won't happen in the new offices as often it does at my house. But yeah, Eddie and Bob, we told Eddie he could just book it. He and Bob are headed back home tonight. So we'll let them go. And Josh and I'll kind of wrap it up here. But Josh, I think one thing I wanted to say, in just to kind of my final thoughts on today and what I saw, and why I back Caleb Williams over Spencer Rattler moving forward is, with Spencer Rattler quarterback, what we found out is this team, not just the offense, but this team as a whole, it has a very low margin for error. With Caleb Williams in there, I saw a team that is better than playing, to not screw up, to not, have a bad play, to not try and make something spectacular happen. And I don't think it was play calling at all. I just think what I saw from Caleb Williams, just like I said earlier, is a guy that's willing to put a jump ball in the air to Caleb Williams or to Marvin Mims. That's willing to try some back shoulder throws with Jaden Hazelwood because he knows he's very good at that, and he's he has good body control and he's physical. He probably still has to develop some stuff with Drake Stoops. And maybe Austin Stogner, but you just saw him go to the guys that he was comfortable with, that he's gotten a lot of practice time with. But I just feel like everything expands about the offense with him in there because of his running game, because of the way he reads the zone read is the way it's supposed to look. Spencer always looked like he was kind of going through the motion with that stuff.
Yeah, because you can talk about the athleticism and all those sort of things, and Caleb's a better runner than Spencer. There's just no doubt about it. But it wasn't just that. Spencer's reads weren't right. It wasn't just a physical thing.
You could see Caleb, just staring down that defensive end when he's putting the ball in his gut, in the running back's gut.
Yeah, it just looks so much cleaner, and I agree with you completely. Caleb looked like the kind of guy today that will give the rest of that team the parts they need, either time to recover from injury or to figure things out along the offensive line, whatever that's going to be. It just seemed like, okay, I think the way you said it's perfect. There's a greater margin for error with Caleb Williams. Now, there's going to be probably more errors.
Yeah.
Anybody that thinks what today happened is just going to go on in perpetuity, don't do that to yourself. He's a young quarterback. He's going to make bad plays and bad decisions, but it felt like he trusted that team more than Spencer ever did.
Yes.
And they trust him in return.
I agree 100%. And like you said, there will be more mistakes, but there's also going to be more payoffs, I think, with Caleb Williams at quarterback. But it's going to be interesting to see how this dance plays out, because Lincoln is he doesn't want to lose a scholarship quarterback right now. He wants to keep Spencer engaged because who knows how things work out. But man, I feel like we lob stuff on Spencer that he doesn't deserve at times. I just don't have confidence that this is going to get handled quietly or maturely, I guess maybe that's not the right word, but just I think it has a chance to get a little ugly.
I don't think there's any doubt. I just don't see any way this doesn't get aired somewhat publicly. Like, I just don't see any way this all goes on behind the curtains. And this isn't Barry Switzer and Troy Aikman, where Troy Aikman someday is coming back to OU to hang out and feel comfortable and that kind of stuff. Like, this feels like bridges will get burned.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because the players, I mean, it seems like they rally around Caleb today, or they rallied around him today. I mean, the way that people talk, because Caleb couldn't talk to the media. Lincoln wouldn't even let him do an interview with Holly Rowe after the game. I'm not getting on a Lincoln diatribe here. I'm just saying he's probably not going to be able to do media while he's the starting quarterback since he's a freshman, a true freshman. And Lincoln doesn't want true freshmen to talk to the media even after they've played, which we're not used to, but that's his policy. And so other people had to speak for him, but the way people spoke for him, it was like, wow, they really like this dude.
Yeah. I were you even surprised with how clear and obvious it was? Like, I felt like guys would try to kind of walk the line a little bit, but boy,
yes, I was. You're exactly right.
I didn't see any of that. I thought it was clear, and the video that Eddie got blew me away after the game, where just everybody was around him. But God, Carey, we've talked about that since he was a recruit. Man, he has that thing that Baker had it. I don't know that I would say Kyler had.
Well, guess who doubted his ability to affect other people and got deservedly a ton of shit for it over the summit. So, I from that day I told you I don't doubt Caleb Williams anymore in terms of his people skills.
You learned a harsh lesson.
Oh my God, I'd say it was beyond harsh.
Yeah.
So, no, but it will be interesting to see how this plays out. It's going to be dramatic. Lincoln's not going to like it, and you wonder, do you start seeing Twitter fingers pop up? You see parents making statements. Oh, I don't envy that part of Lincoln Riley. I'll take his money that he makes, but I don't envy the job that he has ahead of him.
Yeah, this is
to work.
Yeah, this is the no fun part of the job, and I mean, I think we can talk about that part of it. I doubt Lincoln cares that much. I think Lincoln's a big enough boy to handle that.
I mean, that is why he gets paid, and his job is to put the best football team on the field, and he cannot be worried about Spencer Rattler's feelings or his family's feelings or what this might say to recruits. Like, his job is to put the best team on the field, and all the evidence so far suggests, after what we saw today, we couldn't say this before today, but after today, I'm ready to step forward and say, if Lincoln Riley's doing his job, Caleb Williams is his starting quarterback moving forward.
Yep. There's no rational explanation or defense of otherwise. I mean, it's you just can't do it that way. Well, what I think is the problem, and I this part I
and
get
I'm not even like no 2 QB system either. Like, that's a cop out. That's a cop out, and I don't think it'll work.
And I think people today, I again was fairly impressed with how OU fans handled Rattler coming on that 2-point conversion. We know why that happened. It's a unique spot. It's a strange play. It's something Spencer's going to have run a lot of times, and Caleb probably has not run hardly at all.
Yeah,
so
that's
like
what I
got
said.
that.
Yeah,
I get that one completely. And I don't think it creates any change. I think it's just something Caleb will work on probably this week. The part I get that is difficult for Lincoln Riley, and you said it earlier, Carey, is now there's a good chance if you pull this cord, which I think you have to pull, there's a chance you're going to be down to one scholarship quarterback on your campus. And that's obviously a huge, huge risk, but it's you can't play the lesser player or the guy that clearly doesn't look like your team is going to excel at the same level with him on the field. Because of what might happen. You just can't live. You can't play like that. You can't live like that.
The thing that I kept thinking about today, like, if this really goes down and Caleb Williams becomes a starting quarterback, Spencer Rattler will have to transfer. Like, I don't think there's no way that, I mean, he could enter his name in the draft if he wanted to. Mm-hmm. There's no way he's going to be drafted as high as he expected.
Oh, Lord, no.
Like, he's going to have to transfer I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he'll find a good place to transfer to that's a big school. I had jokingly said in the war room, like, you're going to love it in Oregon next year, Spencer. Like, it'll be someplace like that just doesn't have the quarterback.
Yep. I mean, and there are places I think he'd be outstanding in. It's just you know, like I said,
don't you think
it'll be
what he is? I mean, Spencer Rattler to me is a guy that would be a really good quarterback for a team like Notre Dame that has offensive linemen that run the ball.
Yep.
Like
and
that,
let him play off play action
even Wisconsin.
And,
I mean, that's probably a better example.
Oh Lord, he'd be outstanding. I mean, no telling where Wisconsin could be if they could complete a forward pass right now.
I just think none of us accounted for the fact that he would be this average of a runner.
Yeah. Yep. It makes me think now every time I look at a quarterback that OU's interested in. They just can't have a statue back there. That they cannot run the offense the way they want to run it with a guy that cannot pick up first downs with his feet.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm thinking of just other quarterbacks they've had that are transferred out. I mean, Austin Kendall was not a great runner. He wasn't a statue, but he wasn't a great runner. We all know Mordecai made tons of plays with his feet in high school, but at the college level, would not say he's a great runner. I mean, I watched him play a little bit today, and he's okay at moving the pocket, but I remember thinking, like, man, I thought he was a better runner the few times he played last year.
Yep. This year, I don't know if it was, I guess I always think of Jadeveon Clowney because he was kind of the first guy to do this, where everybody knew he was going to be an elite pick. And it looked like that final year he was just kind of like, I'm not getting hurt. I'll do whatever else, but I'm not getting hurt. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's what it was with Spencer, but it didn't look like there was the same conviction running the ball at times. Like even his touchdown run today.
Oh, yeah.
He was more worried about getting down than he was getting into the end zone.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
either that or it was more like, I can't afford to get hurt because I want to be the number one pick in the draft this year.
Yeah.
And I don't have enough tape yet, so I need to play as much as possible. Like, everything about this season for him just seems like he was – I'm trying to think of the right phrase for it. I mean, he's being conservative, but it's like he was just – he's like living his life on egg crates, on eggshells. I mean, it's just like everything was so calculated, it just seems like he couldn't let loose, really. I mean, it was like he was, what do they call it, paralysis by analysis?
Yeah. Yep. Toward the end of last year, you felt like that's a guy just playing football, just letting it rip, doing whatever. This year, it just felt like he was in his head the whole time. I mean, and I know the year's not over, but boy, it sure feels like it is for him.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can hear the dogs are getting antsy, so
yes.
I know
dogs antsy, kids in the bathtub. It is time for Josh to drink without a mic in front of him.
Well, turn Twitter off too while you're at it. That's always good.
That's a good idea.
All right, Josh, I appreciate it. Plenty more to come. Eddie and Bob heading back now. We've already got some stories up from Bob from tonight's game. More video to be coming from Eddie. Of course, the podcast will have the more from Isaiah coming up this week as well. So looking forward to that. And boy, Sooners win it 55-48. And it sets the stage for part 2 of a season that no one thought was really going anywhere before this all happened. And now that Caleb Williams is the quarterback, or seemingly the quarterback, it opens up an entire new world of possibilities for this team. So we're going to be excited to cover it and talk about it, and talk about it with you on Soonerscoop.com. I want to thank Eskridge Lexus. Gave me a nice little loaner this weekend after my tragic Lexus ramming last week. So Ed, Will, all you guys, thanks so much for everything that you always do for us. And until next week, by the way, TCU home game now, 6:30. So that's good. Home game, 6:30. It's what you want. Until next week, we'll see you right back here on the Eskridge Lexus Postgame Podcast Show.